morning, sports fans from all around the world, from Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei to Vegas, from the Vatican. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, at the Breakfast Bankroll, East Coast Sports Investors, where today we look to recap the weekend. Need to talk about these favorites. Holy cow. They are flying in. Are the Sox and Mets done? Crazy weekend for them. And, of course, our co-host, Mr. Scott E. Webb from the Palm Tree State himself will be joining us in a second to give us his side of the MLB slate. But first, if you're not following us, please on Twitter, jump on the EC Sports Invest. Follow us. We will follow you right back. Well, in a couple days. I'll get to that later. And please help us grow our channels. Turn on the notifications. Go over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Hit the subscribe button. If you got an extra 5 seconds, write a quick review. And also our new platform, Twitch, where myself, Scotty, and some big hosts and guests hope to live stream on Twitch at East Coast Sports Investors, where we'll be talking live gaming and games as they're going on and some advantages that we would like to show you as the games progress in-game wagering. But without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, from the Palm Tree State himself, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is up?
Hey, Jeff. Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Scotty, we are doing fabulous. It's been an amazing run here on the ECSI VIP experience, as we like to say, living the ECSI lifestyle. We have now profited 7 out of the last 8 weeks. Yes, and amidst the dog days of summer, and when I'm going to start to show some numbers soon that will blow your mind. But I first wanted to talk about the grind and what we talk about here at ECSI, the marathon approach. It's a day at a time. It's a game at a time. It's a unit at a time. And this week was a perfect example as we grinded 5-4 to Saturday, went 2-0 on Saturday, get to 7-4, plus 2.37 units. Now, how most people are wired is this. I'm up 2.37 units going into Sunday. It's a free roll. I'm going to turn the 2.37 into 5, 6, 7 units, and that's it. I'm either doubling my money or I break even and I start over going in on Monday. What we say is, whoa, pump the brakes here. We like to do what we call as our Sunday Fun Day action parlay. Take the leftovers. Now, some people can't bet a $37 parlay when they're a $100 player. That doesn't, get the juices flowing. So I suggested maybe $87 parlay. Guarantee yourself 1.5 units. Put it to the left. The man's paying you, again, 7 out of the last 8 weeks. Take it, because $150 is $150, but people are just, hey, I need 3, I need 4, I need 5. Well, long story short, our 3-team parlay yesterday, we take the Giants plus 100, and back-to-back games now for the Giants versus the Brewers. They beat up on the back end. Where is Milwaukee's strength other than their front three? And so the Giants prevail. We had the Dodgers just to win, and they go box to wire. That's not in doubt. And now here's the funny. The numbers suggested again to fade Leicester. Well, Leicester looked like the young Leicester, and it's 1-1. And next thing you know, Royals are 3-1, and it's 5-1. And if anyone listening here doesn't know, you know now. The masters of the human rain delay is the Cardinals. If you got a game that's starting at 2:15 and there's rain coming, they'll make sure that they get their first inning in, and then they'll pull out the tarp. or they'll delay the game for an hour when it's not even raining. The old start and stop, and they're the masters. There's no one even second to none, no one even close to them when it comes to this. So Royals up 5-1, bottom 8, and miraculously they bring in Greg Holland, which is like Fernando Rodney. He's just cashing checks. Walk, hit batsman, pull him in Barlow, single, and it's 5-5. Okay, top 9. Royals put the first 2 guys on, and guess what happens? They put the tarp on the field. And hour 45 minutes later, they let them play. Royals score 1, win 6-5. We cash a 4.97 unit parlay. So for the week, the guys won 7.3 units. Everyone's happy. But it's just amazing what these Cardinals can do. And I know I rambled here for the first 7 minutes, but talk about the weekend. Talk about whatever's on your mind.
Yeah, I think that this is the time where you can get caught up in a lot of things if you're a baseball bettor. And it's today's board, for example, is there's only 5 games, but every single one of them you wouldn't want to play by itself or on its own normal minus whatever money line if you're playing a favorite. So we've been talking about the grind and what it looks like, and I think it's also time that you start to think about seasons and segments. So at the beginning part of the year, you kind of don't really know what the teams are like. I mean, you had an idea. I write a book every year. I get an idea of what these teams are like. But you don't really know until they start playing. Well, how long is long enough to know what they got? So, I always look at it as, you got a 60-day window at the beginning of the season to try to figure out what these teams are kind of capable of and what they're not. And then figure out, did they play enough quality opponents or face enough quality pitching to actually mean anything? Because some of these teams can get off to great starts, and they played teams that you might have thought were good. Like maybe they played the Twins at the beginning of the year, and at the beginning of the year you thought the Twins were good, and now you look back and you go, holy crap, the Twins weren't any good at all. So the schedule variance was good for them when in the beginning of the year you thought it wasn't. So there's a lot of different variables that play in. So there's the first segment, right? And then you have the segment that is kind of after the first 60 days where teams sort of start positioning themselves to make a run. And one of the things that they do is they bring up the young guys, and they bring up the guys that they think are going to help them win, like the Tampa Bay's bringing up Wander Franco and those kind of guys. So you start to think about how that plays out. And then you get into the All-Star break. And then this year's a little unique in a sense that the All-Star break is sort of a divide line now of all the games that were played last year, where it was a 60-game season. And, you're looking at guys now already making 20 starts. So how many innings are on their arms? Are they dying now? Are their arms falling off? Or are they getting better? So there's this segment that's going on. And then you have the trade deadline segment. And now you're at a point here where, as you just mentioned at the open there, that the favorites are winning at a big clip. And you're going to see that. You're going to see the favorites win at a big clip the rest of the season. The problem is going to be is you don't want to bet them. And the reason you don't want to bet them is because they're minus 200. They're going to be minus 300. And I guarantee you there's going to be a minus 400 before the season's over. And as you go, you're gonna see that you can't win enough at that level to make money. So you got to figure out all kinds of different other things to do. So I call it segment betting. So your money line bets, unless you're playing small underdogs or something like that, they're about over. So then you start looking at first fives, and Jeff, we looked at the first fives over the last couple of days, and my God, they're pricing us out of that stuff. So you got to find other solutions and other means, and there's still money to be had. There's still money to be had to bet teams to make the playoffs. You can still bet future bets. So there's things to get involved here, and and have some fun. And I think that you can see that all of these teams are going to have big runs, right? So the Red Sox don't have a big run right now, and it's kind of at a bad point for them not to have a big run because the Yankees and the Blue Jays have big runs. So they caught them, or well, they're close enough to catching them, and they're still ahead. But it's now the Red Sox got the race, so we'll just see what happens with these races. And I keep saying it a million times. I think everybody's missing the boat. I think they're all jumping in on the Yankees, and they ought to be jumping in on the Blue Jays. You ought to be getting the Blue Jays because they're the best value and they're the best team. And one of the variables that you can look at, Jeff, to figure out how good a team is, and I know that this is kind of a speculative thing, but look at run differential for these teams. And I don't have it up right this second. So I will look and click on it. And in the American League, year to date, run differential for the Blue Jays is plus 123. So they've scored 123 more runs than their opponents have. And if you were then going to look at the next team, the Rays, for example, is 121. So they're less than what they are. If you look at the Red Sox, it's 33. And if you look at the Yankees, it's 15. So that tells me that this team was a great offense. They were scoring way more runs than their opponents were. They just didn't have enough pitching. Well, they got Barrios. That's going to help them down the stretch. So that's going to get that number growing even more. The only team that's higher than them in the American League is the Houston Astros, and the Astros are just outscoring everybody. So it's at 149. So that tells me that the Blue Jays are competitive with any team in the American League, and theoretically better than most all of those other teams. They're better than the Yankees, and they're better than the Red Sox. It's a matter of when they play them now, and can they capitalize on whatever they have left. So I'm excited to see what happens with the Blue Jays. I'm excited to see what happens with the Reds, because the Reds are now winning games and scoring 75 runs a game. And, of course, they're beating up on the Pirates, but whatever. And but the idea is they're catching the Padres. So they're making themselves relevant to a lot of things in this baseball coming down to the end. And now you just have to get smart about what your bets are and what they look like and where your value is, and put your money there. And don't put your money on all these minus 250, minus 200 favorites.
I mean, I just showed you right here. Favorites the last 5 days, 55 and 18. And we talked a week ago, Scotty, after the trade deadline. The fact of the matter is now you have the true buyers and sellers. And you talked about the books. And what they've done is they priced you out of the full games, and so the sharper, wiser guys have been diving into the first fives and the team totals. And the fact is now they said, whoa, wait a minute, guys, we'll make sure you can't get in there as well. And you peel that layer back one more time. We talked team totals. Oakland on Saturday, a nice bounce back. We had them Friday. We grabbed them again on Saturday. But it is comical. I'm going to throw this up here, and the blind squirrel gets the nut, however you want to look at it. Yesterday, favorites 11-4, overs 10-5. The big dogs at cash, Twins plus 163, Mariners plus 120. Look at the season totals. Favorites 960, 60, and 671. 58.9% the favorites are rolling in. Okay, now you take a look at just the over bettors, right? I'm just going to play all the overs, right? How am I going to do there? Well, 810, 798, and 61 pushes at a 50.4%. Now we know baseball is money lines. We know the contrarians of the world. I'm going to bet every favorite. As bad as that number looks, and I didn't go that far to look at the actual digging in for the prices, but you're 289 games over 500 at 58.9%. but I bet you're losing money if you bet every favorite this year.
Okay, so 58.9% wins, right? So
Just
what is
wins.
that? Right. So on a money line, what is that? That's minus 143, Jeff. So minus 143 is 58.9%. So remember, we talked about that magical number of 52% or whatever it is, 53% everybody talks about. Well, that's minus 110.
51.9%.
Yep. I mean, that's the number that everybody says, hey, you win at that level, you're really good, right? So just assume you're one of these guys that's out there throwing out these plays that are minus 150 or minus 160 or whatever. And if you do that and you play that on a consistent basis and you win 58.9% of the bets, you're losing money because the value is not in. I mean, if you wanted to do 150, and I already know what the number is, 150 is 60%, right? So if you play minus 150 or higher all the time, the minimum number that you can win to make money is 60%. So the big thing here is, and I'm kind of an advocate of being a little goofy sometimes, but if you are in a spot and this happens just occasionally, not often, but occasionally, you'll see me play a game that's minus 155 and you'll go, what the hell is he doing? He never plays games 155. Well, the reason I would play a game that's minus 155 is I might have it lined at minus 200 and something's wrong. Something is wrong, and I can see it, and I can see the value in the number. And if I think that game should be minus 200 and it's minus 155, I got value. I'm going to play it. So I don't think many people can tell you that, because I think what they do is they look at it and go, holy crap, this team's playing this team and this pitcher's pitching against this guy and this is this and this and this and this, and they're gonna cover. Okay, and then they go out and lose. So the problem is knowing what you're betting, how you're betting, when you're betting, and what is the true value. And there's a lot of different things to say about value, right? So value only means something when you cash a ticket. However, I will say this. If you're betting games where you have perceived value of X, whatever that X is, and you're wagering on that perceived value I have, over the course of 1,000 bets, that premise is going to put you in better situations to win in the long run than it is by just willy-nilly putting out whatever the hell you want and whatever you think you're about, right? So I talk about my dad on the show every once in a while. My dad just goes out there and goes, shit, I think this team's going to win and this and that and this and that. And then all of a sudden he got no money. But he was doing good after a little while, right? Because this on long term takes some sort of discipline, and you need to put some process in your discipline, right? You do that. There was a guy I used to work with, and you know who he is. But as he was doing different things, and he plays a contrarian style, and he does a lot of different things that you do. He doesn't do everything you do. And he's on every single solitary big dog he can find that's plus 200 and blah, 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 blah. And he loses a lot. And he throws out these tickets that says, yeah, I won this game and I won this game. Okay, well, it's the same scenario, just opposite, right? If you're playing those plus 200 numbers, you have to win 3 times out of 10. Well, you're not always going to win 3 times out of 10, and you certainly don't know which 3 you're going to have. And if you don't win those 3, you lose money. So I don't want to sit here and talk everybody to death about value, because it's a perceived thing. But if you can attach it to something that is viable, like a line, or then you can track movement. You can do different things and say, okay, well, this in football, for example, this line changed because the quarterback got hurt and the quarterback was worth X number of points. Okay, well, who's deciding how many points that quarterback's worth? Is it you, or is it the sports book, or is it the market, or is it whatever? So as you're doing all of these things, then you can really see clearly what it is that value is changing based on the perception of a lot of different things. And most of this is all perception. So as you're trying to do it, you have to ground yourself somewhere. And if you ground yourself in like what you do with is, which is an excellent thing, you understand the market moves. Most people who are sitting here doing this stuff understand who's playing quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons today. They don't understand the market moves, right? And there's two different things here. You have to be able to be a good wagerer. I don't know if that's a word. You need to be a person who wagers well, and you also have to have an understanding of who's playing, what's the insights to the games, what's going on that way. And sort of that's kind of where I come in. I come in and do the handicapping of the teams and the players and all that. And you do all the stuff really, really super well with understanding the markets and the shifts. And then when you and I are connected together and we're on the same play, holy shit, Jeff, I don't know that we ever lose. But it is what it is, right? I mean, it just, it is what it is. So my thoughts are that baseball's coming into the end, and it's fun. It's you got to work really, really hard if you want to play baseball right now. And the other thing is you only got 5 games to look at today. Most of them are pretty generic. And then spend some time studying football today.
I mean, we could talk for hours of exactly what you're talking about, and I always say it very simply: value is only value if you cash a ticket. But in the same token, the mindset, and we've talked at length about this, and we'll be talking about it all fall with the so-called sharps, that get the CLV, the EVs of the world. Hey, listen, I got the Cowboys +4, okay, and it closed +1.5, and they lost by 1. Well, in their mind, they lost, but they got the best part of that ticket. It doesn't matter if it lost. Hey, listen, I got them at +4. You got them at +1.5. And it landed on 1. I did my job, and after the public, the degens, and a week of picking through it like a seagull at the landfill, it landed on 1.5, and no one won. Unless you were on the other side. And that's the difference where again, these guys, the so-called sharps and the experts of the world, will have a list 25 deep. And of those 25 deep, 22, 23 of those numbers, you and I could never get to. So they're releasing their sheets on Monday at 4 p.m. And then we're looking at, listen, I have 3 sources now, and I'm following 50 sports books on all 3 sources. I see every move, every bell and whistle, everything. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, wow. And then social media jumps in. Well, so Mr. So-and-so, that number's wrong. These guys want to get that information out there to show you. These are the numbers. Those were the opening. Those were the true opening numbers. And then this is what the casino and sportsbook gave you, which never gives us an opportunity to get to those numbers. So by the end, the guy's got 150 comments, and 149 of them are calling him a BS artist. There's no such number. When in truth, that was the true opening number.
Yeah, maybe this is a good spot where I should tell people what CLV really is and what EV is. If you give me a couple minutes, I'll just do it real quick. But CLV, Jeff, is closing line value. So you're going to see, and this is the thing that drives me crazy. You're going to see people tell you that if you're doing betting and you are on the positive side of CLV, over the course of 1,000 bets, you're going to win. And that's not true at all. That's 100% not true. So whoever you're listening to is giving you a premise that's a good premise, but CLV is not the end all, be all, whatever, right? Okay, so here's what they're trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you that the market moves the numbers, and it does. And when the market moves and you're betting and you get the best of the number, right? So just like what you said, if you're getting plus, I don't know, +4 on a game, and somebody else is getting plus, I don't know, 2.5, say, on a game, and the game ended, we'll just say it ended at 2.5. So when you bet it, you got it at +4. That's the best of the number. The market moved the line to 2.5. So your CLV, closing line value, is +1.5, because you got it at 4, is +1.5 to the market. Okay, so let's just say they got beat by 7. Ain't nobody wins. Okay.
Correct.
So who gives a shit whether you got the best of the line or the worst of the line at that number? And I get it. Okay. So maybe that's a bad example in a sense of the using 2.5 and 4, but I was just trying to get a number. But if you wouldn't want to bet it at 2.5 if the line crossed that number down or whatever. But the point of the matter is, that's what CLV is, right? So people are going to tell you that that's how you want to make your wagers. And I'm not going to tell you that's a bad premise, because it isn't. You want to have the best numbers, right? Because a lot of times when you chase steam, guess what happens? You're getting the worst of the numbers, right? You're not getting the best of the numbers, but there's a reason why they're steaming, and there's a reason. So if it makes sense, you just do what you do, right? So, okay, so that's number one. So the next one is EV plus, right? So everybody talks about this EV plus, and I do it a lot. That to me is a more speculative thing. I don't call it that much speculative just because of the way I do it, only because I make my own numbers and I use my numbers against the line numbers. So EV, it's expected value positive. That's all it is. That's all it is. So you're expecting to make positive value bets. Okay, based off of what? And that's where you're going to get into the biggest concern that you run into is who is telling you what to do and why, and where is their EV value, right? So if somebody's telling you it's an EV plus bet, right, they should be able to tell you how much EV it is. If they can't go and say, well, the line suggests that they're going to win 58.9% of the time. My number says they should win 75% of the time. So your EV edge in this game is 20% or whatever that is, 17%. Then they can't tell you what EV is. They don't know. They're just blowing smoke right up your wherever, and they're making up terms. So EV is one of those things that you are being able to explain statistically or through a percentage what your edge is. If you can't do that, then please don't use that term, because the term is important, and it's important in a sense that if you have a big EV edge, for example, I'm going to wager more money. So I'm going to sit here and go, my edge is X, and in a normal game, and say it's 10%. Okay, well, that just means I'm going to play a 10%. I'm just going to make a normal wager. But if I have a 25% edge, I'm going to make that a bigger wager, not because of anything more than I have a bigger edge. So if I have a bigger edge, then I'm going to wager more. Now, that edge is always perceived. It's not a true edge. It's perceived in the sense of who created the number and the EV positive. So you'll see it all over the Twitter, and you're going to see it all over the place. All these guys have all these EV positive. I'm a pro EV better. Okay, tell me what the percentage is that you have as a value opposed to the line that makes it an EV bet. And don't tell me it's because this guy got hurt and that guy got hurt, because that's not That is not how it works. That's some guy just blowing smoke up somebody's blah blah blah, and it's just not going to work that way. So, anyway, I don't mean to derail our conversation, but I wanted to explain really what CLV is and what EV is, and then you're going to hear all these people, and you're going to hear all the experts and these people who are perceived as experts. And we talked about that a while ago. The guys you think you know, who you think are great at doing this, aren't. That's number one. And number two, they're going to hide behind these numbers, and they're going to tell you that this is a great bet because the CLV, this is a great bet because of the EV, and then they don't have any idea how to explain it to you. So just make sure that when you're doing these things, if you listen to somebody that says EV value, that they can tell you exactly what the EV edge is. If they can't, then don't listen to them.
We'll be talking all fall about this. And again, I think it's comical in regards to a lot of people in these lanes and these businesses, especially on social media, walk with that stick and their nose so far up because, quote unquote, they're the professional, they're the expert. I've been doing this for 30, 35, 40 years. This is what I do. This is how I do it. This is the end all be all. And whatever everyone else is doing is wrong, which unfortunately is incorrect, as we do know that. Just with us this year, we've been on the public stage now for 6.5, going on a full 7 years here. You got to tinker. You got to adjust to the market. And what we do is kind of unique in regards to, listen, there's no one that the stockbroker, we're your sports broker. We do the exact same thing as a stockbroker, just in the sports world. We're watching every number, every move, everything like that. Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What's working, what's not working. And I don't put up any of these fancy initials, and I get it. It's part of what we do. And I guess at the end of the day, Scotty, is what works for one sometimes doesn't work for the other. And as long as you're, again, the majority of the people in these lanes, the bottom line is it's entertainment. When they cash, they go out and they blow the money on a new big screen TV, the new Air Jordans, or whatever it is. When they lose, they pay the man and they justify it by entertainment. That's all. But the true guys that dig in here day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, and just really just trying to grind out a profit. That 51.9% is the magic number. If you are 52 to 54%, you are considered very sharp and you're making some decent money. Anything over 54% is considered elite, and look out. So for 6.5 years, when we're floating back and forth and we're right around that 56.9 number, it's off the charts. Okay. But that's not without some roller coaster rides. There are 1 in 8 runs in here. Yeah. Listen, we're human. It happens. There's 3 and 7s, 4 and 11s. And of course that happens when you get a handful of newbies in, like, yeah, sure, kid. They don't get it. They don't understand it. But for someone like yourself, myself, and there are a lot of people out there that do the same thing. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to make it. You just, you're not going to make it in these lanes, Scotty.
Well, this is not a business I was thinking about earlier. The mindset, you talked about mindset a minute ago. But the mindset you have to have to be a wager maker is unbelievable, because the truth is, if you're not an optimistic person by nature, you'll never survive making wagers, because every tiny thing that happens negatively to you, you are going to exaggerate and exasperate, and you're going to get to a point where your heart rate runs to the point where it explodes. Because this is a business where you're expected to lose at least half the time that you bet. So if you lose at least half of the time that you bet, or nearly half of the time that you bet, the biggest thing to do is to understand how to bet, because it's not so much about how to pick the games and so forth at that point. It's how do you manage your money so that you at some point in time don't care how much money you bet, and you just keep betting, because that's what it is. It's a matter of you just got to put it in your head. You're going to make thousands of bets, and if you make thousands of bets, at the end of those thousands of bets, did I make some money? Did I not make some money? Am I broke? Did I have to sell my house? Or can I buy a new house? Can I buy a new car? Can I go do whatever it is I want to do? So the optimistic approach in your mind is how you have to do these things. So if you come off of a losing day, it is extremely, well, let's just say you had 2 losing days. It is extremely hard. It's extremely hard to have a positive outlook going into the wagering and what you're looking at for the third day, because you're just beat up, right? You've done all this work and you've done hours of research and you've done all this stuff, and then they lost, and they've lost 2 times in a row. And you sit there and go, oh my God. And then the next day you have to still have a positive outlook. And that's so at some point, Jeff, and maybe it hasn't happened for you, but it has a little bit for me. I used to think it was the greatest thing in the world to beat the bookie. I thought it was the greatest thing. I would just celebrate to the point where I was, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. And I would get carried away. And then the next day you get that balancing act, right? The balance comes in and goes, whoop. Okay, you were way too high, son. Now you got to come back down to where you're supposed to be. Now I don't get super high on wins and I don't get super low on losses. I know it's part of the game. And over the course of how I bet and where I bet and how much I bet and so forth, I make it comfortable. If it's $100 a game for you, it's $100 a game for you. If it's $500 a game for somebody, it's $500 a game for. If it's $5, it's $5. Whatever it is, it's just got to be one of those things where you don't care about the money. You care about the process. You care about how you're doing it. And then the results come as you get better on your processes and you get better at listening to what you're supposed to be hearing.
1,000%. Understand it's a short menu, but what I figured how we can wrap the show up here, let's give the public and the people what they want here. From my eyes, obviously, you are literally priced out of every full game. We pulled up Wager Talk here, and again, thanks to Kelly and everyone at Wager Talk. We have some family members and some guests on the show at Wager Talk with Andrew McGinnis and Dan Alexander as well. Thank you guys here. Your odds page has been brilliant. You got all your tools up here. So anyone listening currently right now that's not on here that is betting baseball, you should take a look at this. Peralta, Mills, again, I give slight edge, obviously, initially up front to Milwaukee. When you're looking at the bullpens, Milwaukee's has been struggling a little. Cubs used to have a great bullpen, no Kimbrel now. Miami and San Diego, Musgrove is not the Musgrove that started the year in my eyes and our eyes. Chicago at Minnesota. Now, Minnesota was our kryptonite all year. We've stayed away from them. And if you go back and see what they are since the All-Star break, they're finding ways to win now. It's no pressure on them. They got rid of Nelly Cruz. There's no pressure on them, and it's miraculous that they are winning now. And Giolito's been profitable to us, and on paper initially looks like an edge there versus Burrows. Yankees at Kansas City. Talion, another guy that's been pitching real well. And the Yanks bats got where were they yesterday? They go to Kansas City against Hernandez. And then the last one here, Castillo versus Hentages, Cincinnati at Cleveland. Castillo has been great of late. We have cashed a lot of first 5 tickets with him. So I'm going to throw the ball over to you, and you can talk about any matchups that you see some leans initially, and then I'm going to flip it to the first 5 and then get into the first 5 minus the hooks, where you literally, if you wanted to, there might be 1 or 2 opportunities today.
Well, just looking at the matchups, Cincinnati's got a big edge on the mound today. Hentges, he's made 2 appearances since May 7th, and he's pitched 1 inning in each. So this is an opener spot for him, and then they're going to bring in somebody else, whether it's going to be a bulk guy, I don't know, or if they're just going to pitch the bullpen in that game. So that's going to be one of those spots where Cincinnati's got a big edge. Peralta's got a big edge over Mills, and he's pitched pretty well against the Cubs all season. He's faced them 3 times, so he's got a good spot there. The only concern that I have with Milwaukee is they just played the Giants, and I think they played them at home, right? I think they were home games.
Yes.
And they are off of a home losing series, and their first game on an away series on the road is usually a carryover from the home effect. So I'm expecting that game to be a little closer than what most people might think. So Mills isn't that good, but the reason Milwaukee's not doing well isn't because of their pitching; it's because of their hitting. They got to score more than a couple runs in a game, and they're facing Mills, so they ought to be able to. But you never know; these guys might carry over one game, and then all of a sudden, the next 2, it's the second and third game they play that you want to bury them. Giolito's got a big edge on Burrows. Burrows has not started a game this year. He's an opener type for them. He'll go 1 to 3 innings. So again, you kind of have to look at it from a perspective of where they at, and then Giolito. What Giolito are you going to get? You've talked about that for a little bit for some of these pitchers that are out there. Is he going to be the good Giolito or the bad Giolito? Right now, he's kind of at the middle of the road, average kind of stuff. He's a 4.35 Sierra number. His last 7 starts is a 52 on the game score, so that puts him just a little bit above average. Whereas your Peralta's a 62 on his last 7 starts, and Castillo's a 60. Big time, good numbers for those guys. And then you talked about Taillon and Hernandez. Now, this is kind of an interesting matchup in a sense that Hernandez is a 5 or 6 inning guy. He's only done it a couple times, but he's only had 1 bad start. He made 4 starts. He's only had 1 bad one. And that 1 bad one was kind of bad. It was a 25 on the game score side, so that's really low. But he was a 59, 70, and 54 in his other starts. And then he's facing the Yankees, who come off of a good home series where they played well against Seattle. So they should play well in this spot. However, I'm not so sure Taillon's not due for a bad game. I mean, he's been pitching pretty well lately. His game score is a 58 over his last 7. It's a 51 for the season. So he's pitching over his skis here a little bit. So I'm not so sure that I would back them on that spot. And then you got Miami and San Diego. And again, you got Musgrove at a 3.98 Sierra number and Thompson a 5.37 Sierra number. So you got a big pitching edge for San Diego. But all those things being said, there's value in here, and you just got to find them. When you switch them to the first 5s, you're going to be trying to play the Cincinnati's, the Milwaukee's, you're going to try to play those games. The question is whether you want to pay 135, 140, 150. What's the number you want to go to? When I was seeing them, that's what I was looking at. Is that what the numbers are, Jeff? 135, 140, 150 on the first 5s?
All right, well, we'll go to first 5 spread. And another thing I wanted to make note, last year especially, not as much this year, but the ESPN game, the team that stays home, which is the Cubs, and in comes Milwaukee, and the team that travels. A lot of those ESPN games tended to go a little later. And the next thing you know, some of these teams aren't rolling in till, 2, 3 in the morning, where the White Sox just had to hop on a plane and go from the Wrigley Field to Minnesota. Don't know what time they got in, but just keep an eye on that. And you brought up some great points, teams traveling, coming off good series, bad series, coming off a loss or a win. So these are just the spreads. And I just wanted to leave these up there initially. Again, all the numbers you're outpriced. Not going to go in with a Peralta minus 178. Not going to go in with a Musgrove minus 230. Jeets is minus 190. Again, I think the little bait and hook here, and you can take a look at it, and you just brought it up. Talion and the Yanks opened up minus 170. Circa said not so fast. They've dropped it down to 155. And we got minus 190 on Castillo. So let's go to the first 5 minus the hooks. All right. So now you're priced into some of these. You can dig into Milwaukee. Peralta, minus 125, minus the hook. Giolito, minus 135, minus the hook. Talion, minus 115, minus the hook. And Castillo, minus 135 and hook. Every one of those gives you up, and this one I'm kind of laughing at. I mean, Musgrove and the Padres are like a 240, 250, 260 favorite, yet they're only minus 148 for a half run. So when you go from the big numbers to the first 5 money lines to the first 5 minus the hooks, it's almost like you got to say, whoa, pump the brakes. This is not a kid in a candy store here where you guys were just telling me there's no way in hell we can play any of these. Now you're looking at the numbers and you're like, give me a toasted almond bar and give me a hoodsie cup and give me and you're like, holy shit, I can play them all. Not so fast.
Yeah, there's you just got to be careful, right? So there's 2 things in play when you do first 5s, and one of them, it eliminates the bullpen. So when you're really thinking about these games, a lot of times you think about, you mentioned the Milwaukee Brewers, for example, and the Giants, and the Giants were winning those games because they beat up on the bullpen. You got to remember that because that probably puts a little value on Peralta today, as opposed to what you might have thought. And if the Giants were playing, maybe that puts a little less value on what the Giants are in a first 5 scenario, right? So remember how these teams are playing and how they're winning. One of the advantages in that I liked here was I liked Castillo today. I liked him in the first 5 innings because they jumped all over the Pirates, and they jumped all over them at the beginning of the game, and they just kept going. And Henkins is not one of those guys that's going to go out there and shut the door on people. So he's very hittable. His strikeout rate, Jeff, is 12%. I mean, that's one of the lowest that we've had on the board in a while. And not only that, but his walk rate's the same. So he strikes out as many guys as he walks. But keep in mind, he's also going to pitch 1 inning. So that throws a little different wrinkle into a first 5. So who's going to pitch behind him? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer. I tried to look, but I don't know because I don't know if it's going to be a bulk guy, that comes in. That's a starter type guy that's going to pitch 4 innings. And if they throw somebody like that, that could be one of those wrinkles that derails your bet. So what I did, and really the only wager that I made today was I even moved deeper to the team totals, and I bet the Miami Marlins team total over 2.5 today, minus 125. That was the number I bet, because yes, I get it. Musgrove is whatever Musgrove is, and he's had some reasonably good success. But over his last 7 starts, Jess, he's a game score 50, which is just average. And when I bet it, I played it, was minus 125 over 2.5. And the other thing that I kind of looked at here was Musgrove against the lineup of the Marlins. It's not a lot of at-bats, but it's 24 at-bats. They had 6 hits in those 24 at-bats, so the batting average is 250. But what was interesting is that they saw a lot of pitches. So they had 24 total of 29 at-bats, but 119 pitches they've seen against him. So he has 3 walks against them and only 3 strikeouts. And they had, of those 6 hits, 3 of them were extra base hits. They scored 5 runs. So the WOBA number is 3.76, which is higher than the average, and the ISO rate's off the chart, 2.92 or 0.292. So I suspect that they're in a position where they can score 3 runs in this game and take that over the 2.5.
Sounds good here. Again, what I would do is I keep an eye. I just pulled up your team totals here. I'm going to go one more step further on my side here. Get to the first halves, and again, when you're looking, the easiest thing to do, again, guys, everyone watching and listening, is take this thing to layers. Okay, so now what you want to do is the first 5. You want to take a look at the total. What is it? Your Milwaukee is 4.5 juiced over minus 115. 5.5 juiced under 115 on Giolito. The Yankees are 5.5 juiced over 110, and you're at a flat 5 juiced over at Cincinnati. Well, you say, okay, say in your head what? Milwaukee, Chicago, kind of thinking it could be a 2-2, maybe a 3-1, maybe a 2-1. Your Giolito, again, they're kind of expecting a 3-2. Yankees, again, potentially 3-2, and Cleveland 3-2. Now go one more step further and take the team totals. And where are they giving you any signals? Okay, so they got the Milwaukee 2.5 juiced over 115, and they got the Cubs at 1.5 over 124. So again, they're giving you that potential that they're saying there's a good chance that Milwaukee will have at least a 1-run lead. Okay, White Sox 3.5 under 144. Vegas is telling me there's a good chance they're going to at least get to 3 here. Now they're baiting you with Minnesota 1.5 over to 145. They're going to get to 1. Are they going to get to 2? So if you were using the half-run line theory that we're using here, you're still going to cover that. The Yankees now is a little tricky. We talked about Talion. You talked about Hernandez. They got them 2.5 over 134. They got Kansas City 2.5 under 153. Good possibility. It could be 2-2 there after 5. And then again, Castillo and Cleveland. Cincinnati 2.5 over 127, and Cleveland 1.5 over 136. So if you wanted to take it from A to B to C and now to D, currently as it speaks, your 2 half-run first 5 edges that we see would be Milwaukee with Peralta and Cincinnati with Castillo. Are we releasing those right now? Hell no. Okay, we follow the market as it gets closer. 3, 4, 5 o'clock, we'll send out our alert. We'll see where the market goes. But currently, as it stands, we would lean Milwaukee with Peralta minus the hook. Let me get you the true number here, so you don't think I'm blowing smoke here. Peralta minus the hook minus 125, and Castillo minus the hook minus 135. Scotty, anything?
I think in that Milwaukee game today, I think Yelich might be playing today. So I think that he was activated, but I think that they held him out, and I think he's going to start playing again now. So that could be good news if they can get the MVP Yelich back. If they don't get the MVP Yelich back, then it's almost like the Cody Bellinger scenario that's going on in LA, right? So I'm hoping that those guys can be the superstars that they have been in the past. And baseball is always more fun when the best players play, and when the best players play well. It's always not a good sign when you don't see Mike Trout on the field, and you don't see, or you have the Cody Bellingers of the world who are batting 197 or something, or whatever it is. So it's one of those scenarios where you just want these good players to be the good players that they have been, and to develop, so to speak, the way they should. Thinking about Gleyber Torres and those kind of guys. You baseball needs that, right? Baseball needs great players playing great, because that is the differentiator between all the other stuff, right? The Olympics just had baseball. Did anybody watch it? I don't know. The United States played a bunch of college kids or minor leaguers against the world's best, whoever the world's best are. And they still have the Korean leagues and all these other leagues going on, and the Japanese league. And it's just, Major League Baseball is exactly the best players from all over the world playing every day. And it's a showcase, and I just love to see them play.
And by the way, I wouldn't poo-poo so much on Cody Bellinger, meaning this. He is having a miserable season. Okay, but look at that Dodger lineup, the greatest number 8 hitter in the world. Can you imagine how long this lineup is? And then you get to 7, 8, 9, and you're the opposing pitcher. Like, all right, at least I got an easy inning. And then you're staring at I don't even know who's batting 7th now. And then you got Bellinger 8th. I mean, their lineup is so sickening. So it is kind of comical. Yes, he is struggling, but that lineup, and he's batting 8. I mean, a quick flip he gets on, pitcher gets him over to second, and here comes Mookie and Trey Turner, and lights out. So I want to end and close with this, guys. As we are going here, you can see myself and Scotty. These shows, and they're not going to be the same every day. They're getting longer. We're pressing an hour here, but we're just again trying to educate you guys. When we do entertain, we do try to create a few laughs, but that's not our job here. We're trying to give you the information, what we see, what separates us from everyone else, or for, the numbers, the actual numbers. Scotty digs into the analytics, the sabermetrics, and he builds his own numbers. And as he said earlier in the show, when we're both on the same game, I think we're at about 92%, and it's an absolute homer. And that doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, get ready. And, he has his way, I have our way, and we're like that pitchback theory. I throw my ideas, he throws his ideas, and it's, like the tennis match. We're lobbing back and forth, but we're being sponge. We're taking everything in, and that's what we want you guys to do. And you can ask questions here. You can go on to Twitter, ask us questions, DM us. You can send us emails at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. These videos are up on Twitch. They're up on YouTube in case you missed them live. We're here to we want to see everyone cash tickets, but we want to see you guys enjoy the process, understand the process, and maybe just a little rewiring. Hey, I'm not doing this. I never thought of this. Hey, that sounds great. Let me add that to my repertoire. And then, this is all a process. That's what it is. Some's working, some's not working. Hey, let me put that on the back shelf for now. And then let me try this.
I always say that life is a journey, and gambling's the same thing. I mean, when you're wagering, it's a journey, right? And sometimes you have a destination of where you want to go. If you don't, then you're just kind of meandering and walking around aimlessly to a degree, and you can see that in life, right? People do that stuff all the time. So if you have a way to have a destination you want to go in your gambling, wagering type investing world, I think that we're going to help you with your path. I mean, and that's the critical piece of what we do. Now, the second side of that, though, is, and this is a thing that's sort of on the player, so to speak. How you enjoy your journey is up to you. And what we're trying to tell you is you need to maximize that enjoyment as much as you can, because that's why you're doing it. You're trying to get to the end of wherever you're going and having a good time while you do it. And then as you go, you grow and learn, and your path becomes wider. It gives you the more obstacle. It gives you a wider path, an easier way to go down the path, less obstacles to avoid as you go. So as you're going, you can enjoy the scenery more, right? So as you're going down that path, just have a good time and understand there's going to be a pothole that you hit. But as long as you don't fall into the pothole and never get back out, you're going to be okay. You just stay down the structure of where you're headed, and whatever structure you use. We're not here to tell you one way is the right way, because Jeff and I do things totally different from each other, but we play off of it very well. So his style, my style are very unique, and I shouldn't say unique. There's all kinds of people doing this, but uniquely entwined, so that the viewpoints aren't, even if we disagree with each other, they are never presented that way. And we are trying to give the investor wagerer the opportunity to pick and choose what formats they like, and to pick and choose what information that became value to them as they are going down that journey to wherever it is that they're targeting, and then whatever that they can do to enjoy it better.
Anyone wagering today, always, always, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you got a problem, pick up that phone, reach out to someone. There's an 800 number out there. There's plenty of people to help. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest on Twitter, to Scott at MLBdaily.com on Twitter, and Scott Webb, right? What's the other handle, Scotty? Webby20 MLB.
Yeah, it's Webby20 MLB. That'll be the one that pops up the MLBdaily.com. And now I say that in just at this point because I haven't put anything on that website in a long time, and it's not because of anything more than I just run out of time anymore, Jeff. It's just, it's hard to do all the work and then do shows and then do a JB show and do different other things and then put it all together and keep up with all the social media outlets and everything else. So I just haven't done it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's just I haven't put anything on there in a while.
We will be back tomorrow, same time, same bat station. We'll have a full view of a lot more MLB games. And what me and Scotty might want to try to do is just sprinkle in a little NFL preseason if we can get to it. Again, we're at the hour mark. Lot of stuff that we brought up the last few days. Go back to the weekend. Go again. Take a look at some of the videos. There's a lot of education and nuggets out there that to be had as we get closer to football. And again, when we get to football, the game doesn't change. It's just a different sport. And for us here, it's all about the numbers. With Scotty, again, he does his way, bringing up his own odds. And then what's his odds versus, what Vegas is spitting out and finding that EV or CLV, right? As we get to closer to kickoff. But again, thank you guys so much. Truly, thank you guys for hanging in here. Have a blessed day. Best of luck with your wagers, and we will see you tomorrow.